Today on Fisicality Unscripted, I'm going to cover two things: value and the value feeder. It's almost impossible to talk about value without talking about integrity. And in the integrity matrix, which we'll be discussing periodically, and we'll probably do a deep dive very shortly on an upcoming episode, where we categorize integrity as the combination of what you say you're about and what you show you're about. So what you say you're about, or your ethics, and what you show you're about, your morality, what you actually do. If those two things are in alignment, if they mate up very well, if my ethics had a shape associated with it, and that shape was like my hand, and my morality also had a shape with it, and it was like my hand, and I placed one on top of the other, and it completely covered and it looked like just one singular hand, just the silhouette of it, then that means my ethics and morality are in alignment, and I will be said to have high integrity. If for some reason what I said I was about, again, had the shape of my hand, and what I showed I was about, or what my actions actually were, which would be my morality, and it did this, all of a sudden that shape is not in alignment. And the closer you get to having that singularity or a single shape from those two elements, the closer you are to having impeccable integrity. And then as this shifts and changes and moves around where the alignment is no longer synchronized, then the integrity starts to fail and falter. The way value comes into all of this is that your ethics and your morality are oftentimes shaped by your value system, or what's important to you. That's essentially it. Your values are what's important to you, regardless of what you say is important to you, because again, now you're getting back to the integrity thing, and all of these items tend to feed each other. So for example, you may have someone that says, my family's important to me, and having good credit is important to me. Having a nice, well-kept house inside and out is important to me. That means you value those things. But if you're spending a significant amount of money on extracurricular activities that have nothing to do with the family, and you're putting the family at risk, where you're not maintaining the upkeep of that house, or you're going out drinking every weekend and maybe a couple of weeknights and maybe doing some kind of other illicit activity, then your family is not important to you because you're not there. If your family's important to you, you're probably going to be home unless you're working or engaged in some productive activity or having some kind of sensible kind of fun. But if you're out running the streets and doing that kind of stuff, then your family can't be important to you. You don't value them. You say you do, but you don't actually, because your actions don't mirror what the words that you say are indicating. The value system is very important. And because we have many faces, there's the face we show the public, there's the face we show ourselves, and then there's like the real us. And all of these things are living kind of together in the same space. We need to be aware of all of those different aspects of our personality and psyche. And we also need to account for anything within that value system that we don't want to see from a logical perspective. Like, we can make decisions. Just because I value something doesn't mean that it has to rule me. I'm not going to use alcohol in this particular example. We'll use sugar instead. I may really value sugar. It may be important to me. I like the way it tastes. I like the way the foods I eat with it smell. It makes me feel real good. It's something I really like. It's high on my list of things. It's important to me. And I will put myself at risk and do things that are detrimental to my health to have it and to have a lot of it. I value that. Doesn't matter what I say. I can tell people all day, hey, I want to lose weight. I want to get in shape. I want to be healthy. I want to do all of these things. But at the end of the day, I really value sugar, and my actions show it. But just because I value it and it's important to me doesn't mean it has to rule me. I can make decisions about sugar. And this is where the ethics come in. So even though I value it, my ethical code says, hey, this is important to me, but I'm going to control it. I'm going to have some parameters around this so that it fits into a certain framework. I don't want to eat but so much sugar on any given day in any given week. And if you start doing that, you've said that, and then you start actually putting that into play, you actually take action on it. That means your morality is lining up with your ethics. And when those two things align, again, you have high integrity. So that's important. Now, for some of the things that are hidden that we might not want to let people know that we have some kind of quirk in our value system that society may not like. Maybe you're cruel to animals. You don't like animals, so you're cruel to animals, or you have an unhealthy affinity to kids that you shouldn't have. If you have that kind of weakness, you need to put some controls around that. Maybe you don't like people of a certain race, or maybe you don't like people of a certain sex. If that's part of your value system, that's in you, you are born with that, and there's nothing that you can change how you're wired, but you don't like that because there's also a piece of you that knows logically that's probably not the right thing to do, or you feel some kind of way about it and you don't want that to be a part of who you are as a person. That's okay. You got that, it's in there, you've recognized it. Now you got to put some stopgaps around it. You got to put some parameters, you got to put some gates around that so that you can still exist and live the life that you envision yourself living, rather than living the life that was thrust upon you and you're not doing anything about it. I look at some of what's happening in popular culture today, R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, Puff Daddy, or maybe going back a little bit, who was that, Jerry Lee Lewis. There are lots of these people that have had an affinity for certain kinds of activity with people that, based on the other person's age or the other people's age, was probably not appropriate. But they had this weakness. They valued that kind of interaction. They valued being around these people. And no one around them was able to, or took the time to help them put guardrails around them and say, hey, this ain't okay. Is this the kind of person you want to be? Is this what you're about? If someone had done that, or if they had recognized these kinds of things within themselves, they could have made some ethical decisions and built out their profile about how they wanted to live, their code. For me, I would call that a code of honor. And I'm going to be about these things right here, regardless of what my value system says, or is kind of spurring me on to do, which, you're kind of getting back to id, ego, and superego about, what you are naturally. All of these things kind of feed together. But as soon as I get to the point where logically I can make some decisions about what I want to be, let me write these down. And I really mean write them down. Like, take out a piece of paper, write this stuff down, and go through it and really start internalizing, put time on it. And it's funny how people have so many strong opinions about so many things, about politics, health, the things they see on TV, movie stars, the kind of clothes you wear, all of these things people have really strong opinions about, and they can wax and wane poetic on it, but hardly anyone is actually taking time to spend time with themselves to find out what they're really about, what they're really into, to take a piece of paper out and say, you know what, what's important to me? I'm going to write it down. What are the things on here that I don't even want to face up to myself, but let me go ahead and try and deep dive and put these things down as well. And it should be a probably pretty long list, but it wouldn't be anything ridiculous, because the most important things to you, they're going to jump right out. Nobody does that. So out of all of the holier than thou and people with all of these really strong opinions about things, they don't even know what they're about, because most people tend to regurgitate and talk about things that other people told them about. They say what the person down the street is saying. They say what the neighbor is saying. They say what the teacher, the parent, the preacher, they just regurgitate and parrot back the things that they've heard without actually thinking for themselves. And like I said, George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, he said it best: think. It ain't illegal yet. You can still do it. They haven't outlawed it. It's all right. But at the very least, be honest with yourself about yourself and try and find something out about yourself. Know yourself. And most people haven't done that. That means you're in tune with your value system. And once you're in tune with your value system, you're going to know what gaps exist within that value system. And once you see a gap, or you see something that you logically don't want to be a part of that system, you can deploy countermeasures to neutralize the things that you don't want to be a part of it. All of that stuff can be changed. This is important because what ends up happening, and one of the reasons why this is so important is this. The value system, a lot of times, is a thing that causes problems with other people. I wrote up here that sometimes when we're dealing with other people, well, not sometimes, most of the time, when you're dealing with other people, there's going to be conflict, disagreement. We don't see eye to eye. It doesn't mean it's bad. And, it doesn't even mean it's not expected or it can't be productive. But people don't see eye to eye, and there are different frames of thought when it comes to analyzing a situation.
I've learned that if I'm embroiled in a dispute with my wife, and there's reasons for disputes. You have complicated problems to solve apart from your own stupidity and malevolence and all of that. So maybe you're in a dispute and you can't get out of it, and you're trying to show you're right and it's not going anywhere. And you think, okay, we better break apart because it's going sideways. If you think, okay, probably I've done something stupid to contribute to this in some way. What might it have been? And if you ask like you want the answer, you'll get the answer. And it won't be an answer you like, and it won't be something you like to admit. You might think, well, it's only 5% my fault still. It's like, yeah, okay, but at least it's 5%. Then you can go back to your wife and you can say, here's the stupid thing I've done to contribute to this. And I figured it out, and I'll try not to do it again. And, sorry, I'm so dumb.
Yeah.
And maybe if she's done the same thing, she can tell you the same thing. And then maybe now you're both like humbled a bit in the proper way. Can actually have a discussion that's aimed at solving the problem instead of attaining victory.
Oftentimes, this happens even though we're using the same set of facts, the same set of circumstances, the same environment. We still have this conflict. And conflict occurs when the same facts are synthesized using different values by different people. So everybody has the same facts at their disposal, but because their value system is different, they're going to look at certain facts and give them more weight than other facts, and that can change up how the rest of the interpretation of those facts comes about. For example, I put an example up here for a road trip. That has nothing to do with money or working out, but we'll use the road trip example. They've had a long day of driving. Let's just say they've been on the road 12 hours and not a whole lot of breaks. When they wanted to eat something, they went through a drive-through, got the drive-through, and they ate in the vehicle and kept it going. But now they've been on the road 12 hours. It's nighttime. Most of them, they think it's late and they need somewhere to stay. So as they're having this conversation, keep in mind, they're all on the same trip. They all, got started at the same time. The first person, they value cleanliness. He wants them to find something that's clean. The next person, they value resting soon. They've been on the road for 12 hours. His back's hurting, he wants to stretch a little bit. So he's like, I'm just ready to stop. The other person, they value cost. Well, regardless, all of these places are really expensive. Cost is really important to them, even above cleanliness and resting soon. And then finally, the last person, they don't value any of that other stuff. They just want to get the trip over with. They're trying to get to where they're trying to get to. And so when you look at all of these things, and for all of them, each of the things that the other people value and think are important are also important, most likely to the other people, but in varying degrees. So these degrees of variance are the thing that are causing the conflict because the value systems are completely different. And some of these can be deal breakers. Some people really want someplace clean to stay. And if they can't have a clean place to stay, it's going to be bad for everybody. I'm probably one of those people. Resting soon. That could be a deal breaker for somebody that's under duress. Maybe, they had trouble resting before the trip and now they're just wore out. Cost, same thing. They don't want to pay a lot of money. They don't have a lot of money. Their budget was pretty tight. And then finally trying to complete the trip. They're just trying to get to where they're going. So those are ways where you can have the same facts, the same situation, everything is exactly the same, but because the value systems are a little bit different, it causes conflict. How does that apply to the physicality arena? Well, when it comes to, say, sports or strength training, that can impact you on the type of workout that you do. They want to get in shape. People are trying to prepare for something. Well, different people value different things. The person that values weight loss is going to have a different approach than the person that values building muscle, or the person that values strength because they want to power lift. So their value systems are different. They're all working out, but they have different goals in mind. And even for people that have the same goal in mind, in the fitness arena, we can say there's a set of twin brothers. They're both preparing for the same show on the same date in the same category, but they have different value systems. One guy wants to be as massive as possible, and the other guy, he wants to be balanced and cut and doesn't want to sacrifice his aesthetic appeal for size. That means they have different value systems. They are going to approach their training a different way, which means it's going to affect how their body comes out. And for them, if they're training together and the one guy is trying to get big at all costs, regardless of the aesthetic appeal of it, while the other one is trying to maintain all that, they're going to have conflict during the training routine because one guy is going to have one approach with a certain rep scheme and maybe rep range, amount of rest between sets, and even exercise selection, while the other person, the other brother, he wants a whole different setup of all of those same components. Everything else is exactly the same. That's because the value system is different. On the money side, the fiscal side, what can happen is you have two investors, a husband and wife. They've got the same house, they got the same kids, they got the shared bank account. Everything is jointly owned. They're looking at all of the data in exactly the same set of circumstances. But because their value system is completely different, one person, they value consistency, stability. They want something that's steady, something that's very dependable. The other person, they're willing to take a chance. They want to try and get ahead. They want to see a higher return. This person isn't willing to sacrifice their safety and comfort for that. This person is. That's going to be a conflict. They're going to evaluate stocks differently. They're going to evaluate what goes in the portfolio differently. They're going to evaluate how that money that they're allocating to that portfolio is utilized. They might be looking at a company. Let's just say that company is Pepsi-Cola. And for one of them, they really like Pepsi-Cola because it seems to have a diversified offering within its portfolio. The other one, they look at Coca-Cola. Well, Coca-Cola, they don't do snacks. They just do the beverages, where Pepsi-Cola is doing the beverages and snacks. But when they look at these companies, they're looking at different aspects of it for their way of investing. Then they may look at another company that doesn't pay a dividend. Well, for the person that wants stability or wants something consistent, that company not paying a dividend, that's a stopper for them. They don't want that. That's a showstopper. They want the dividend because that's extra money coming in. They consider that to be a very good thing. For this person that's looking for a high return, he's looking at tech companies that don't pay a dividend, and he's perfectly okay to move forward not having that dividend. That's perfectly okay. They're gonna have conflict. The facts are the same, but because they have different value systems about what's important to them at that time, whatever those reasons are, it's gonna create a conflict. And those are the things that you have to get around. Within the same person sometimes, you can have this same conflict, where you're fighting yourself. It's like you got an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other shoulder. And some of us, we got a devil on one shoulder and a bigger devil on the other shoulder. So, that happens too. I think I beat value up pretty good here. We'll actually go a little bit deeper in other ways on that when we talk more in depth about the integrity matrix. To wrap up, these simple models can be very beneficial to helping you create good plans and also change as situations change to help you stay on track and meet your objectives. Good luck on your physicality journey, and thanks for watching.